Right, lads, let's get stuck in. Go and get chalk on your boats, lads. Wee lad. Right, this is episode 8 of the Chinksey Sports Presents, the Premier League show. Bow! Right, man. Let's go. No waffling. Straight in there. Right, first game of last weekend was at Villa Park between Brighton and Aston Villa. Ended 6-1 to Aston Villa. Crazy result. Nobody could see this coming. Although the way Brighton play, this result, they could get a few of these. They've had a few of these under the Zerbi as it is. Brighton have proved to be a Jekyll and Hyde side with only one way of playing, irrespective of the scoreline, meaning that results like these are almost inevitable. They tend to do better against the top sides who will come at them, expect to beat, and yeah, they would expect to beat Brighton. However, against a low block and counter-attacking sides with quality on the wings, they're exposed as both negligent and naive. De Zerbi has been on the receiving end of rave reviews, but you could argue that Brighton have no real expectation and that he's riding the quest of a wave, not rave, with just pure vibes and scintillating football that will end with wins more often than not. Questions remain, however, over whether he really can manage a big club, because results like this would not be tolerated at clubs like Man United and other clubs of that stature. It'll put his job at risk, whereas a couple hidings with Brighton, as he's had, no one will bat an eyelid. He's already had some there. So he's had some real beatings. He's had a 3-1 against West Ham at home. He had a 5-1 against Everton at home. And then he's obviously had this 6-1 against Aston Villa last week away. So, yeah. Now, Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins showed how good of a player he is, especially in transition on the counter-attack and clinical and decisive finishing. It was surely his best ever performance, probably in his career, but definitely for Aston Villa in the Premier League. So 6-1, like I said last week, I thought I personally thought it would be a high-scoring game, and I was saying I thought it would be 2-2. But if you had to press me on a winner, I would have said a narrow Villa win. I couldn't have foreseen a 6-1. That's a madness. But yeah, really good game though. Right, Wolves against Man City, the shock, the coupon buster of the weekend. Pandemonium in the West Midlands as Wolves secured both a much-needed and well-deserved victory. Haaland had a rare off day and was kept subdued and was well marshalled by Wolves centre-half Craig Dawson, who was immense. He was also excellent against Liverpool and is proven to be a bargain buy from West Ham United. Portuguese winger Pedro Neto was excellent once again as he was against Liverpool, in that first half on the right wing. And I personally feel that the pain and anguish from losing to Man United and Liverpool earlier in the season, which they could have arguably won both to be fair, helped get Wolves over the line in this one, third time lucky. As they went into the break 1-0 up, they got pegged back by a Julian Alvarez free kick. He's on fire this season. Before showing incredible character to go ahead again, and then great resolve to see the game out for a coupon-busting famous win against Pep Guardiola's treble winners. So, I mean, Man City were literally chasing a club record, was it 7 wins from 7 at the start of the season, but they had to settle for 6. But they still remain top of the league as they go into the top of the table clash against Arsenal at the Emirates this Sunday. Speaking of Arsenal, Bournemouth. So yeah, that was 2-1 to Wolves. Bournemouth against Arsenal at the Vitality Stadium. Kai Havertz manages to get off the mark and brings an end to his 007, 008 agent 0 goals and assists narrative driven by Chelsea fans. Great performance great performance from Arsenal. They literally squeezed Bournemouth. They didn't give them nothing to work with whatsoever. They sapped any hope and energy out of Bournemouth with an early goal. So that makes it another away win, another clean sheet, making it 4 from 4 in all competitions at that time. The result hits differently because Liverpool, Manchester United, and Man City all lost, giving Arsenal the perfect opportunity to usurp a Rodri-less Manchester City and potentially go top of the Premier League going into the October internationals. Well, that obviously has a lot to do with the Spurs scoreline against Luton. But if Arsenal win and Spurs win, then probably go down to goal difference either way. But it'll be joint top. Anyway, at Old Trafford, Manchester United against Crystal Palace ended 1-0 to the away side Crystal Palace. By the way, that Arsenal game was 4-0 to Arsenal. So yeah, Crystal Palace beat Manchester United 1-0, another coupon buster. Whilst it wasn't the biggest shock in the world, I don't think many people would have saw this result coming, mainly because these two sides met earlier in that week and United won comprehensively. Crystal Palace managed to defend defender Joachim Anderson's goal through a combination of resolute defending, good fortune, and poor decision making from the United attackers. The question is Manchester United's luck running thin, as they haven't played well literally all season? But ironically, their best performance was against Crystal Palace 3 days earlier. So that's what made it a surprise. It was a bit crazy. I couldn't believe it. I mean, if they would have played the previous week, you would have thought, okay, Crystal Palace have a chance. But because you would thought United had turned the corner, they beat Burnley, then they went and beat Palace, 2 clean sheets. You're thinking, okay, they're going to go on a little run. It wasn't to be. Good win for Palace. Ten Hag's fighting for his job right now. Right. At the Olympic Stadium, West Ham United 2, Sheffield United 0. I think I got that spot on. Literally the only result I got spot on last week. No, I got it. I think I went 2-1 West Ham. Yeah, I think it was always going to be a home banker though, as Jared Bowen continued his fantastic start to the season in his bid to squeeze into the England squad for the 2024 Euros. And he actually got into the squad on yesterday. So big up him. He's spearheading West Ham's, top 6 assault, you could say. Probably challenging for top 6 and to win the Europa League. So they've had a great start to the season. Sheffield United's woes continue. Another defeat, rock bottom of the table. And yeah, no shocks here. Right, speaking of shocks, Luton beat Everton 2-1 at Goodison Park. An unbelievable result from Luton, which I did not see coming, especially on the back of an upturn in form from the Toffees. A couple more of these results and a great escape against all odds could really be on for Luton. Luton will feel that as long as they can keep Sheffield United and perhaps Burnley below them, then they may be able to stage a dramatic escape, Harry Houdini style. They might drag an Everton, Wolves or a Bournemouth into the dogfight with a few of these surprise results and subsequently leapfrog them. I doubt it though. But as long as Luton continue to make themselves hard, or at least harder to beat, then they give themselves a chance, and that's all they can ask for. Burnley at home awaits them on Tuesday. I see that as a must not lose for both sides, especially Burnley, after this Luton win. Well, obviously, I'll come to that Burnley-Luton game in a bit, because that is right. I didn't write it down, but yeah. Burnley v Luton. Okay, cool. No, Luton v Burnley. Luton were at home. But yeah, man. Yeah, Luton gave himself a chance with that away win. I don't think anyone saw that coming. Everton were poor. Luton were excellent. And yeah, their first win of the season in the Premier League. Big up Luton. Right. The next game was Speaking of Burnley, Newcastle against Burnley ended 2-0, a routine victory. I think I got this one spot on. I think I did go for 2-0 Newcastle. Easy win, routine. As Newcastle's turnaround continued, I feel like their dogged performance against Serie A's second place side, AC Milan, has gave them the platform to rebuild their confidence and season after being slapped by Brighton a few weeks ago. 3-0. Since then, they've picked up 3 more clean sheets and have been generally winning games at a canter. Even with club captain Jamal Lascelles, who has been an outcast, who has been an outcast for about 2 years, ever since Eddie Howe brought in Sven Botman, who's now injured, hence why he's been brought in. I expect Newcastle to release Lascelles next summer when his contract expires. But yeah, there's nothing really much to say about this result other than it was what you would have expected. Easy win for Newcastle, and yeah, they made a couple changes. They got to rest their players for Europe, and yeah, easy thing, you get me. But yeah, Newcastle climbing the table slightly. I think they're about 5th, 6th right now as well. Right, the big one. This was the 5:30 kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham hadn't beaten Liverpool for 6 years before this game. Boy, I think this game is going to be one you won't forget in a hurry. Where do I start? Right, the PGMOL gate. Never in my life have I seen a match involving 11 players against 9, let alone away from home, the away team being with 9 players. Let alone between two top sides at a raucous Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It could be argued that Spurs had not just luck, but the referee, the fans, everything on their side. It took a 96th minute own goal from Liverpool's veteran Cameroonian defender Joel Matip to not only break Liverpool's resolve and resilience, but also their long-standing winning run, leaving Arsenal as the only unbeaten side in England in all competitions. Not anymore though. As Spurs have lost in the Carabao Cup to Fulham at Craven Cottage, Liverpool's Luis Diaz's opener was wrongly chalked off for offside. Yep, that was definitely offside. Curtis Jones received a red card. A lot of people are saying that wasn't a red. For me, it was, because it was dangerous play, whether it was intentional or not. And substitute Diogo Jota also did receive a red after 2 yellows. Yeah, I felt like the ref was a bit harsh with that. I mean, he could have probably spoken to him and said, all right, cool, you've had a foul. This is your last chance. You know, have a bit of sense. You're spoiling the game, really. I didn't think it was 2 straight yellows. It was probably a yellow and then give him a warning. And then, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, despite this, Liverpool managed to hold out with 9 men against Tottenham's 11 for about 20 minutes, which is mental. Some may say Spurs had 12 or 13 if you include the ref and fans, before a 96th minute own goal gave Spurs all 3 points. Yep, but it's mad. Yeah, Jurgen Klopp obviously isn't happy about that. Liverpool as a club aren't happy about that. They're probably seething. And I think Liverpool's one team you don't really want to poke the bear, you know? So it'll be interesting to see how they fight back against Brighton on Sunday. But yeah, Liverpool's unbeaten record ended at the hands of Tottenham. So Tottenham remain unbeaten with Arsenal, who are 2nd and 3rd place respectively. Nottingham Forest against Brentford ended 1-1. 10-man Forest managed to salvage a point against an out-of-form Brentford, who before the game probably would have taken a point here at the City Ground, as it's not only a tough place to go, but to stop their losing run. Forest steadily picking up points. You know, they're getting draws and wins here and there. And both sides remain in mid-table, gradually getting closer to that magical 40-point mark to stay in the league. I'm almost certain that neither of these sides will be top 10 or even top 11, but they'll be probably 12th, 13th, 14th. they'll be lower mid-table or upper lower mid-table, if that makes sense. In the bottom half towards the top. So, right, anyway, enough of that. Fulham against Chelsea on Monday ended 2-0 to the Blues. Finally got a win. Second win of their season under Maurizio Pochettino. 2 goals in the space of 20 seconds. That's crazy, man. Wow. Yeah, 2 goals in a space of 20 seconds from a young Chelsea side proved enough to see off West London neighbours Fulham. The game was essentially over before the 20th minute. Marco Silva has seemingly been reluctant to start any of his new summer recruits, but I think he'll ring in the changes on Saturday when they take on struggling Sheffield United. A crucial 3 points for Chelsea, as I believe they need to form some momentum with wins against Fulham and Burnley away before they take on their bogey side Arsenal at Stamford Bridge after the international break. That's a team they've lost 3 straight home games to and lost home and away to them last season. It's good to see Armando Broja back, young Chelsea striker who missed pretty much the whole of last season through a serious injury. So yeah, he can challenge Nicholas Jackson for that forward berth. It'll be interesting to see who starts against Burnley. For me, I think Broja's gonna be given a chance to build on that good performance and goal. And yeah, Mikhailo Mudryk got his first goal for Chelsea, so let's see if he can build some momentum as well. Right, so now that aforementioned Luton v Burnley game, relegation 6-pointer. Burnley managed to get the win 2-1, their first win of the season. I think their 4th point of the season. Very important. I think they needed it more just because they need to kind of prove to themselves and to Vincent Kompany that the football they're trying to play can yield wins in this league. Plus, just the fact that Luton's a team they have to look at beating because they seem to be losing against any half decent side. But if they can now build on this, they can now build momentum and believe that they can beat sides like Wolves, Bournemouth, and pick up enough points in them sort of games to stand a chance of staying up. Luton, on the other hand, luckily won at Goodison Park, so it wasn't as essential to win this. However, they have to pick up points at home. They need to make Kenilworth Road a fortress once again if they want to stay up. But one thing's for sure, I don't think both of these sides will stay up. So literally, you probably think Sheffield United will go down on one of these, possibly Bournemouth, Everton, or Wolves. Right. Literally just mentioned Luton. Luton are first up this weekend in this weekend's predictions. They take on high-flying Tottenham Hotspur at Kenilworth Road. As I just mentioned, they need to pick up points at home. However, I don't think they're going to pick up anything from Tottenham, who've just literally picked up 4 points playing against their bogey sides Arsenal away and Liverpool as a whole. Fantastic start to the season. Ange Postecoglou's side will expect to win, and I've gone for a 3-1 win to Tottenham. Luton look like they're coming to terms with the Premier League a little bit as they've started to defend a little better, are conceding less goals, and as a consequence are most crucially picking up points. They already have 4, and while this should be seen as a bonus game, they'll need to pick up points against sides in and around them, especially at Kenilworth Road. Spurs should win though, and only a win's acceptable after picking up 4 points from 6 in their last 2 games. 3-1 to Tottenham. Right, once again, Burnley against Chelsea. I've gone 2-0 to Chelsea. Both teams go into this game on the back of much needed wins after wretched form. Burnley played Luton earlier in the week in a game that they definitely needed to win. More than that, they'd be looking to create some form of momentum going into the international break. The same thing with Chelsea, who beat Fulham on Monday and are going into a tough run of fixtures, a nightmare run of fixtures for the next 2 months. But they would expect to win at Turf Moor and start climbing the table. I think they're about 11th or they're mid-table somewhere. Don't look that far down. But anyway, 2-0 to Chelsea. I've gone away. Right, Everton against Bournemouth. I expect this to be a dull match between two sides who will definitely be involved in a relegation scrap, along with Wolves and the three promoted sides, Burnley, Sheffield United and Luton. Both had disappointing results last weekend to Luton and Arsenal respectively, although Everton losing 2-1 at home to Luton Town is far worse for me than Bournemouth losing 4-0 at home to Arsenal, because that's a game I'm sure Sean Dyche would have expected a win from, whereas Bournemouth wouldn't have really expected to get anything from Arsenal. So I've gone 1-1. I think they'll cancel each other out and it's going to be a horrible game to watch. I mean, neither side daren't lose that game, otherwise it's peak. Right, the next game is Crystal Palace against Nottingham Forest at Selhurst Park. I feel like this is a battle between two similar sides. It seems like Forest are trying to model their identity on Crystal Palace in terms of the type of players they have and trying to consolidate themselves as a bona fide Premier League side. Whilst I don't think they'll go down, I think both sides will be in the bottom half. The onus will be on Palace to break down Forest, who will look to play on a counter-attack. The clock's ticking before Michael Elise returns, though, for the home side, but I don't think it should be too long now. I've gone for another score draw, a 1-1. I think two relatively evenly matched sides, although I think Palace are more likely to win, but 1-1 for me. Another game is at Craven Cottage on Saturday between Fulham and Sheffield United. I've gone 2-0 to Fulham, a game that Fulham should definitely win, given Sheffield United's diabolical start to the season, yet to win, losing 8-0 at home to Newcastle, and yet to secure a single point on the road. Their only point was a draw with Everton. I think it was 2-2 at Bramall Lane. I'm almost certain that Marco Silva's Fulham side will fancy their chances of sneaking into the top 10, 9th at best, but it doesn't really look like they're good enough, as they're in and amongst a batch of mid-table sides alongside Crystal Palace, Brentford, West Ham, who could all do the same. 2-0 Fulham for me. Next game is at Old Trafford. I've gone 1-1, Manchester United against Brentford. I feel like time is running out for Ten Hag, and losing this one just before the international break could be critical. Just a no-no. United can't lose this going into the break with that 2 weeks, because the Man United board might just think enough's enough and something's got to give. Jadon Sancho will be watching, I'm sure, hoping that Ten Hag is fired before January so he doesn't have to rot in the reserves or wherever he is. But yeah, United will want to get a draw minimum going into the international break before regrouping and getting key players like Anthony, Varane, Luke Shaw back. Both teams have been off the boil in recent weeks, but I think Brentford will come away with something, especially with United's confidence being so fragile now after 3 home defeats from 4 games. That is crazy. After losing 3-2 to Wilfried Zaha and Mauro Icardi's Galatasaray, it's probably better for Ten Hag that they play away from home for the time being. And with an away trip to bottom of the table Sheffield United at Bramall Lane in the offing, it will be good for United to get at least a point, probably a win, and then they should really beat Sheffield United after the break, so they can perhaps get their season up and running. Right, now for the Sunday games, I think we have 4 really, really good games. This is one of them. A big Midlands derby between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Aston Villa. I have gone for Aston Villa away win. I know Aston Villa ain't that good on the road. I've gone for 3-1 to Aston Villa. Although I do think Wolves could get a 2-2. It won't surprise me if it was a draw, but I'm backing Villa for this one. Both sides coming off the back of morale boosting wins last weekend. The Wolves fans will be purring and will expect and need more of the same grit and determination from people like Craig Dawson, who was immense against both Liverpool and Manchester City in recent weeks, and was unfortunate to be on the losing side against the Reds. If Wolves are to have any chance in this one, they'll have to feed off the energy of the fans who sing their heart out just before kickoff with a rendition of Jeff Beck's Silver Lining. Hi ho, silver lining. But yeah, Aston Villa managed to win their home Europa Conference League match against Bosnian side Zrinski. Yeah, that took a bit of practice. With an injury time winner from John McGinn in a much changed side. He's one of the few players though that he'll definitely start on that game. He plays just in front of Douglas Luiz and just behind Ollie Watkins, who I think is going to be on the score sheet again. I think he's on 4 goals for this season in the league. And is it 6 overall? Something like that. But yeah, he's on fire, and he's another one that has managed to get himself into the England squad, and well deserved. Well deserved. Next game is at the London Stadium between West Ham United and Newcastle United. United derby, you know what I mean? Yeah, both teams have played in Europe this week, hence why the game's on Sunday. West Ham have come off the back of... They've come off back-to-back... all right, this is hard to say. West Ham have come off the back of back-to-back wins after back-to-back defeats. Understandably, to Liverpool and Man City, they gained impressive wins against Sheffield United and German side Freiburg, who are half decent, away in the Europa League. And they made a few changes in that game as well. They did play Paqueta, they did play Bowen, they did play Mohamed Kudus, but Kurt Zuma and Mikel Antonio didn't play. So they got a much needed rest for what is going to be a really tough game against Newcastle. Hard to call game as well. So yeah, that win away at Freiburg puts West Ham in a strong position after 2 wins from 2, and it puts them in pole position to qualify from their group. With a doubleheader against Olympiacos to come. Even more impressively though, Newcastle thumped French giants PSG, who went gung-ho, naively, effectively playing 4-2-4. Playing Dembele, Kolo Muani, Mbappe, the lot of them, and Gonzalo Ramos. And then they had Warren Zaire-Emery and... what's his name? That holding midfielder that they bought from... was it Angulu or something? They only had like 2 midfielders and 4 forwards, and expected to go up against Eddie Howe's flamboyant, athletic and energetic Newcastle, who are buoyed by the raucous Geordie fans. And yeah, I thought Newcastle would win. I thought it would be a 3-2 or something. I didn't expect them to thump them 4-1. But yeah, so I think Newcastle have hit form. They're really, really looking good right now. And I've gone for a 3-1 win away for Newcastle. Right, the next game is a really intriguing one. I'm gonna change my score now. I went 3-2 initially to Liverpool. I've gone 4-2. Brighton against Liverpool. Both teams coming off the back of disappointing results last week after Brighton were absolutely humiliated by Aston Villa. Brighton did, however, well to come back from 2 goals down at the Stade Velodrome in Marseille on Thursday, which secured a pivotal point for not only the Seagulls' confidence, but for their chances of qualifying for the Europa League before their double-header against Dutch giants Ajax after the international break. Things seem to have gone from bad to worse for Brighton recently, as they have been leaking goals left, right and centre. Literally 8 goals in 2 games. And could find themselves on the back of a 4-game winless run heading to the Etihad after the international break. Yep, they play Man City after this game. Boy. They've lost to Chelsea, Aston Villa and drew with Marseille in their last 3 games. So they haven't lost to poor teams, you know what I'm saying? But if they lose this game and they lose bad to Liverpool, you know what I'm saying? It could get a bit Could get a bit techie because they got Man City coming up. But no, I've gone for 4-2 to Liverpool. And then, yeah, last but not least is the game of the weekend to close off this weekend's fixtures, to close off the Premier League's fixtures for 2 weeks as we go into the international break. The time has surely come for Arsenal to beat Manchester City, the final boss, their chief tormentors, the team that they've lost. Hear me now. Is it 12 or 13? 12 times in a row. That is losing home and away for 6 years consecutively. Yes, Arsenal have 12 L's in a row against Man City. Arsenal haven't had such a bad record against a team in their history. Like, not even Man United, Chelsea, or Liverpool have had such a dominance consecutively in, like, literally ever. So Arsenal need to stop the rot, for starters. They did beat Man City in the Community Shield on penalties, so they've showed they can compete with them. But I think now is the time for Arsenal to win. Yeah, before last week, I would have said if City won this, it would have been almost a critical blow to Arsenal's title hopes. Now I feel that Arsenal can go into this game knowing that a defeat wouldn't be anywhere near as fatal to their title chances, but it would put doubts in the back of their mind that, we lose to them all the time. Like, really? Can we really win the league if we're giving them wins all the time? Are really going to go to the Etihad and win there? I mean, if there's a time or a place to beat Man City, it's here. They got no Rodri or De Bruyne. Arsenal, however, have doubts over Thomas Partey, Bukayo Saka, and Gabriel Martinelli. But don't be surprised if all of those play. But yeah, if Arsenal win this, it, however, could propel them into a real title surge and give them real belief going into their grudge match with Mauricio Pochettino's Chelsea at Stamford Bridge after the international break. Whereas Man City stopped the rot with a sensational away victory against Leipzig, who are no mugs. Just ask Harry Kane's Bayern Munich, who have failed to beat Leipzig in 2 attempts this season and the last 4 matches. Bayern Munich haven't beat Leipzig for 4 games. Wow. And bear in mind, Man City beating Leipzig 7-0 a few months ago, so that tells you a lot. Arsenal, on the back of a disappointing display against Lens in midweek, will be looking to bounce back and get a critical win before the international break. My prediction for that game is 2-1 to Arsenal. So that's that for episode 8. And I'm really looking forward to this week's fixtures. I think it's the most intriguing yet. Bow, I'm out.